everybody. You already know the question. Where do you go to get all your news? The only place is the Washington Informer. I'm Misha Green, Washington Informer Managing Editor, and I'm so ecstatic to be with Congressman Glenn Ivey, who's doing such amazing things in the United States House of Representatives, representing this great state of Maryland and all of his constituents. And we are just so happy that you are with us today, Congressman Ivey. Thank you.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
We are so happy. We have a lot to talk about. And so, I guess let's just dive right on in. The first question I have, which, I think might be a fun reflection for you, but yesterday we saw the president do such a really great job articulating his presidential achievements and really his decades-long career in politics. And it was a reminder of, I'm stepping down, but hey, this is all I've done. Don't you forget it. And so I want to hear, what are Congressman Ivey's achievements? We report on them all the time, some of the cool and awesome things you're doing here in the state of Maryland. What are some of the things you'd like to highlight for the folks watching today?
Well, I mean, just so far, I've only been in Congress about a year and a half, but so far we've had some big successes. The FBI headquarters coming to Prince George's County is a very big one. Now we got work to do to make sure that happens. And I got to say, making sure that Biden's legacy carries forward in the form of Kamala Harris is a big part of that, because if Trump wins, he might try and derail that. So we need to make sure we work hard on that front. We've gotten several $1 million brought back to the county in the form of earmarks. I'm particularly pleased and proud of trying to get money to help reduce gun violence in the county. Trying to reach out to people doing work in intervention prevention programs in the county. At the hospital, they've got a program where one of the doctors interacts with people who, suffering from gunshot wounds to try and preempt it there. The county has a program that also does intervention and prevention on the streets that tries to disrupt and break the cycle of violence out there on the street. We've got a number of programs and efforts going on in the form of outreach to veterans in the county. We want to make sure that they're getting the benefits that they, need and deserve. And our constituent relationship aspect of our district office has been great, I think, as far as fielding calls from the people, trying to help them get the assistance they need from the federal government. So I'm pretty pleased with what we're doing there. We passed a piece of legislation to try and increase the availability of police officers in the country. It's trying to widen the pipeline. And I think part of that means reaching out to people at the high school level or even earlier to sort of introduce them to these concepts. Same with military service. We've got a lot of veterans in our district and in the region. And we want to make sure that young people understand that this is an option for them that provides good career path, a lot of fantastic retirement benefits that you don't typically get in the private sector anymore. So it's an opportunity that folks should consider. And then we're getting grants to try and expand programs, for example, helping people get into the building trades. Not everybody wants to go to college or, is interested in going to college or wants to go to college, but also do other types of work, vocational kind of work at the same time. And so we want to make sure we get federal funding, and we've gotten some already, to try and expand those programs and make them available to more students. So that's just a slice of it. I feel pretty proud of what we've accomplished so far, and we've got a lot of things that are in the hopper right now, so to speak. And I'm excited about moving forward with those as well.
Well, we're watching. I have to shout out our Prince George's County reporter, Richard Elliott, who has been doing an excellent job keeping a pulse on everything that's happening in your office, which, it seems quite nonstop, but I think it feels like once a week we have a really cool update. In this week's paper, I think we're talking about your presence in the celebration of the second anniversary of the 988 line for suicide prevention. And I think last week's paper was the work that you were doing surrounding gun violence in the area, and particularly after the situation with the senior skip day in the park. And so you're not sleeping, Congressman Ivey. We know that for sure. Your wife isn't getting sleep either, I'm sure, and as her campaign goes. But we really are appreciative of the fact that you're allowing us to chat with you pretty regularly and keep a pulse on what you're doing. So thank you.
Well, I thank you all for being the eyes and ears for the community. You all do a great job of making sure the information gets to the people, gets to the public, gets to voters, people that need to get this so they can make informed decisions when they go into the voting booth. And this is going to be a big year for that. We've got the Senate race with Angela Also Brooks. She won the primary against David Trone. We need her to get elected to the Senate so we can maintain that Democratic majority there. We saw what happens when we don't have it. The Trump forces were able to pack the Supreme Court, and they've been rendering one bad opinion after another there that's really been detrimental. So electing Angela Also Brooks is important, and you guys have been covering that very well.
Thank you very much. And so I think this is a perfect transition, because we know this is a critical election year in so many ways. And, this past week has felt like a year in and of itself. But, we have you here to sort of talk about how the Democratic Party is mobilizing. And the first question I have about that is what you believe the advantages of Vice President Harris is as the nominee, or as the presumed nominee now, against former President Donald Trump.
Yeah, I mean, I've had a chance to talk a lot about this, when President Biden was still in, but the Biden-Harris team has a very strong legacy to run on. The work that they did in the first 3 years of his administration has been phenomenal, holding down prescription drug costs, and especially insulin up front, but setting up negotiations to keep those down going forward. I think it's up to 16 million new jobs now during his time as president. Record lows for unemployment, especially for African Americans. Inflation went up, but it's coming back down now. And he's got programs aimed at helping to get people in new houses, first-time home buyers, aimed at keeping rent down. Actually, the county council just passed a local version of that too. So, Democrats are trying to address that on both fronts. But the Biden-Harris team has been very strong in getting a lot of things done. Chips back into the United States, internet access is another aspect of that. Just across, it's amazing how much they've been doing. And then, some of the grants that I referenced a few minutes ago are, coming out of the Biden-Harris administration. They're the ones that came up with the money to help us get more, tech training in Prince George's County, or to help us get gun violence reduction programs up and running or expanded in Prince George's County. So it's been phenomenal what they've accomplished. And, we appreciate the fact that we've been able to benefit from that, and having her, take the torch and carry it for the next lap of the race, I think is important too. So, she's certainly very well prepared. I know it's obviously the Republicans are desperate when they try and attack her credentials, but she's a Howard graduate. She's a lawyer. She worked as a local prosecutor in San Francisco. In fact, she was the elected DA there. She was the state attorney general, where she did a lot of great work, on the civil and criminal front, protecting consumers in California. Then she got elected to the United States Senate, and now she's vice president. So she's done just about everything you can do to prepare for the moment to become president. And I know she can hit the ground running when she does.
And so how, this incredible support so quickly, we saw your colleagues really throw their support behind the vice president really quickly. Congressional Black Caucus was like one of the first. I'm curious, how has that response sort of been, internally? What was that? Was it like a call to action, sort of? And how do we, as the voters, sort of reply or respond in the same way?
I mean, it was like this spontaneous explosion of excitement and enthusiasm and energy that all kind of happened, um, right after President Biden said he wasn't going to run, and then, named Kamala as his successor. I mean, it was just like, an explosion. So you had 44,000 AKAs on a conference call. It collapsed, I think, the first couple of times they tried because so many
I
people.
was an AKA
Oh,
only reporting and not able to get into that. Just want to say that. Was not able to get in that.
yeah. But think about that. You can pull together a call with 44,000 people
Amazing.
in
Yeah.
just a matter of hours. I mean, and then the money that came in, I think it was like 50 million in the first 24 hours. Um, and I believe it's up to around 100 million now. I mean, it's, sort of record-setting numbers. And this isn't like just, big donors writing big checks. This is a lot of people writing small checks that are adding up to very big numbers because they're excited about her. They're excited about what she can do. They're excited about making history and keeping Donald Trump out of office. So it's really been something to watch, and I think it's created a lot of momentum for the campaign moving forward. And the other great part of this too is that she could just kind of take over the campaign machine that had already been put in place. I think they had around 1,000 offices across the country, heavily concentrated in so-called battleground states. And you might have seen it. She did a sort of a conference with them. It was virtual because she couldn't do all of them at once, but same kind of reaction. Just the energy's just coming through the TV screen. It's really great. So we're hoping that this will carry the day. It's an incredible start for sure. I think it's going to pull younger voters back in and get them more excited. We had some people who are struggling to choose between a candidate or the couch. Well, they're not struggling with that anymore. They want to come in for Kamala Harris. And then I got to say too, the Republican reaction, you can tell they're scared because they're saying they're revealing their true character, attacking her for claiming she's like a DEI nominee or, candidate or something, even though, as I just mentioned ago, she may be one of the most qualified and prepared candidates we've ever seen, attacking her for being childless. I mean, it's, kind of astonishing, the stuff that they're saying and doing. But, we see who they are now. They don't have white sheets and they're not burning crosses, but that seems to be the kind of mindset that they're carrying forth with. And we just have to show that we know how to address that by beating them at the polls on election day.
And so, what are some of the major issues we should be listening out for as not only things that really impact the Black community, but also some of the deciding factors that, I think could be a make or break in some of these swing states?
Well, I mean, there's so many. It's hard to know where
Yeah.
to stop. I
Yeah.
mean,
Maybe
you know,
like top five, if you will.
but if you just look at the DMV, the
Yeah.
Trump Project 2025 proposals are really astonishing. I mean, he's talking about eliminating like between 50 and 70,000 federal government jobs, and what he means by that is he's going to replace merit employees with political patronage jobs. In many of those instances, or just shut down entire agencies like the Department of Education, which is
Yeah.
our schools need help, more help, not less. Shutting down Department of Education is insane. But he's talking about those kinds of things that are just enormously damaging. Making it harder to collect on Social Security, Medicaid. I'm sorry. Less accessible. I mean, it's really, an across the board attack on what the federal government can and does do for people. Sometimes folks who are, low income or need assistance or need access to the benefits that they've earned, like Social Security. He's trying to turn all of that around. So that's one very, very big one. Women controlling their own bodies, is another one. The J.D. Vance reference to, Kamala Harris being childless, maybe is sort of an indication of things to come. But women should be able to choose what they want to do with their bodies, what they want to do with their wombs, whether they want to have kids, when they want to have kids. It's really between them, their doctors, and their families. Donald Trump shouldn't be making that decision for them, or the Supreme Court for that matter. But the Trump Supreme Court eliminated protections for those rights. We know that there are women in states across the country. Remember the 10-year-old girl who was a rape survivor but had to leave the state to get an abortion. That's unacceptable. That's kind of crazy. Guns is another one. The Trump Supreme Court has thrown out restrictions on common sense gun laws, like the New York law that requires a permit to carry a concealed carry. They threw that out, and they apparently want to keep moving in that direction, even though we see that assault weapons on the street are the cause, or the primary tool that's frequently used in these mass violence attacks that are committed. We know that there are too many guns on our streets, especially getting into the hands of too many young folks, 21 and younger. Sometimes we've seen in our locality here, in the local area, the 15-year-old kid that went up on the bus to try and shoot another kid. And these guys want to continue to have guns. They're opposed to restrictions on ghost guns, for example, which the only reason to have a ghost gun is because it doesn't have a serial number and makes it easier to get away with committing crimes. There's not one Republican co-sponsor in the House of Representatives to ban ghost guns. So, I could go on and on, but it's things like that I think indicate that the Trump team has no interest in doing things that are going to help make things better for us here in this area or across the country.
And, I know this is a burning question for folks, but if Vice President Kamala Harris called you up right now and said, Congressman Ivey, who should I pick as my VP? Who are you suggesting? Is it you?
Maybe it's you. I don't know. Are you free?
We're talking. We just got to the point of like really pushing qualified folks here, Congressman Ivey. You had a great spiel about why the vice president was qualified. They do not want me.
Yeah. Well, whoever she picks is going to have big shoes to fill, because she did such a great job as vice president. But I think there's a lot of candidates from across the country. I'm kind of leaning towards governors, potentially maybe senators from battleground states, because I think they can help us get this across the finish line and win. But ultimately, she's got to pick somebody she thinks is going to be a good fit with her and her talents and skills. That'll, create a good tag team like she had with President Biden for governing the country. And I think she's up to the task of making that selection.
Awesome. Well, we're listening out to see who she selects. We will be covering the DNC eagerly and on the ground. So hopefully we get to say hello to you there. But thank you so much, Congressman Ivey, for your time. Is there anything you'd like to share that I haven't asked?
Well, look, I appreciate the work that you all are doing, especially in these really critical times. This is a pivotal election in a way that I don't know that we've ever seen in my lifetime, certainly not since 1968. So, it's important for everybody to pay attention, to follow the news, and, analyze the candidates, and hopefully you'll come out and vote, in November for Kamala Harris. I think it's an election that we have to make sure we get right.
Well, thank you. We really appreciate your advice and your wisdom on that. And you have to come back and see us. I'm just going to ask at least once a month, but at least up until November.
Absolutely. I'm in. And if I don't see you before, I'll see you in Chicago.
Yeah, see you in Chicago. Thank you so much, Congressman Ivey. Give your whole family love for us and thank them for showing so much love to the Washington Informer.
Thank you so much. And you all have a good one.
Thank you. You as well. Well, everyone, you all know this is Win TV. We had a great conversation with Congressman Glenn Ivey. And you know what comes next? Friday, Let's Talk, streaming every Friday at noon. This is going to be a very special episode because our Washington Informer interns and fellows will be leading the episode and giving you all the news you can use. So we'll see you tomorrow, Friday at noon. And in the meantime, go to WashingtonInformer.com. Our paper came out today. You can check out the PDF and all of the amazing stories that dropped this week. Take care, everyone.
Where do you come to get